She stared at the leering carved into the wall at the rear of the oven. The walls were caked with soot and smoke, the leering's visage black. She stared into the eyes, waking it with a thought. The eyes blazed orange, and fire engulfed the oven from the leering's mouth. The heat singed her cheeks, making her smile with satisfaction. With the leering, the oven did not need wood to burn. Chapter 6. Leering Stones. Greetings, this is Sean, and today I'm going to be making a leering stone for the fireplaces, as you may have guessed by now. In order to understand what a leering stone is, this would kind of be a leering stone. It's a magical device that's used in the story, and this particular one creates fire in the fireplaces. So I'm going to take that little charm that I found there and make a mold of it. And this is going to be very similar to the way that I made the mold for the bricks that I made for my brick oven with the popcorn, which I'll put a link up here in the top as well, and a link in the description to it too. So the first thing I'm going to do is hot glue that charm into the plastic bin there. I don't like using hot glue guns for many different reasons, so I use a torch to melt the end of the glue gun there, or the glue stick, which I'll apply the glue to the back. It's a lot quicker, a lot less messy, and I prefer it to do when I have to use hot glue to do it this way. So anyway, just be careful if you try this to not burn yourself with the open flame, of course. So what I'll do is I'm just removing some little strings that do show up. You get that, I think, inevitably with hot glue, which is one of the things I can't stand about hot glue. But anyway, I'm going to be using the molding rubber, casting rubber that I showed you there at the beginning of this little segment here. And that's the catalyst that I'm shaking up. And what I did was I poured sand into the mold there, and then poured the sand into the cup to measure how much of the casting material I was going to need. Or I should say molding material. I say casting, but it's molding material. And then it's similar, like I said before, to the way that I did it for making my bricks. So anyway, it's this material is done by weight. You can actually do it by volume too, but I'm doing such a small amount that I'm just doing it by weight. So I've got a gram scale there, and basically I just pour in the mold material until it gets up to the line, and then I kind of top it off so that it's at an even 45 grams is what I ended up using. And then the catalyst that I'll add here in a minute, it's done at a ratio of 10 to 1, so it's 10 parts of the white material to 1 part of the pink catalyst. So basically I just, in a separate cup here in a minute, I will measure out 4.5 grams of the catalyst. Of course, this is a brand new bottle, brand new kit that I bought. So I gotta take the little, they don't want you to use it. They keep it so tight to get on there. I had to use a pair of pliers to poke through it and pull it off. But anyway, I'm going to measure that into, like I say, into a separate cup, which there's the cup I'm going to use. Very messy. But anyway. And then once I pour the catalyst into the mold material, the white material, then I have about 20 minutes of working time, 20 to 30 minutes of working time, which is plenty. But anyway, then basically I just have to stir that up until it's a consistent color throughout, which I think I stirred it for about a minute or two, which I'll speed through here. Like I say, it's very messy. I shouldn't have used a paper cup either because it started leaking through the side of the cup. But anyway. So now I'm just going to pour that material into the form there. And then I let it sit for about 8 hours once I got it all poured. And after the 8 hours is over, it's time to demold. And I was just trying to be real careful with it because it is kind of thin, but it's I did put a little bit of mold release that I had bought. I didn't show that into the mold before I poured it, but I just wanted to be real careful so I didn't rip it or bend the charm for that matter, since it was glued in. I wasn't sure how it was going to react. I was hoping that what happened actually happened, so I was happy for that. That the hot glue would have released the charm from the plastic, which it did right there, and so that way it would stayed inside. Now I can reuse that tin for something, or a plastic container for something else. Anyway, now it's just a matter of gently pulling the silicone away from the charm and taking it out. Now there is a loop at the top that I had to end up cutting the rubber. I'll get a knife here in a second and cut that away from that little loop that's there. And yes, I was being very, very careful when I was cutting this off. Yes, I do get close to my thumb, but I was in no real danger of getting cut. So now I have this mold here that I will use with some plaster to make the stone, the Leering Stone. And there I've got some plaster of Paris that I'm going to be using, and I've got way too much. I don't need nearly this amount to fill that little teeny tiny hole. But anyway, too much is never enough, I guess. But I did add a lot more water than I needed to for the amount of plaster of Paris I had. So here in a minute you'll see I'll actually add some more plaster of Paris to this cup just to thicken it up a little bit. It was way too runny. I try to make it about the consistency of crepe batter, or like whipped eggs, you know, kind of runny pancake batter. But this was more like water. So, but anyway. So I was going to pour it in, but I thought, no, it's going to come out way too fast, and I don't want the whole thing filled up. I don't want the crown part of it that was on the charm. Didn't want that, so I just took the popsicle stick there and just kind of dabbed it down in. I want to make sure that all the holes, the eyes and all the details were nice and filled up. So I kind of, poked it along a little bit to get it, to settle in, and I put just a very little bit into it. And that's probably about enough right there. And I did have, as you can see, quite a bit left over, and so I have some extra molds, these little owls here that you see, and I use the extra to fill those just to make some plaster owls. And anyway, so now it's just I waited about an hour or so before I took that out of there, so it was nice and it wasn't completely cured yet or completely hardened, but it was good enough for this. And then I let it dry several more hours before I did anything else with it. So there were a few imperfections, so I just took my little dental pick there and cleared away some of the extra plaster that was sitting there around the mouth and nose and eyes and stuff like that. So anyway, that's the Leering Stone. Now, as you... So there's a close-up of it. Nice happy face. Although in the story it's actually supposed to be a face that looks like it's screaming in pain and all that, but I couldn't find any charms that look like that. So I took, again, some creative liberty with this and used this face instead. It kind of looks like a happy sun face or something like that, possibly. And anyway, it'll get attached to the wall behind the oven. And what I did was I drilled some holes through the eyes and all the way through. Now, mind you, this will be painted black, so you really won't be able to see those holes very well once I do get it painted black for the ash and whatnot. Then I made a little channel in between those two holes in the back. And what I'm going to end up doing, even in the project itself, each one of these is going to have that done to it. This is going to be the wall that it'll get mounted to, that'll sit behind the oven. And it will have this piece of foam as well. It'll be about this thick, but I took an orange LED and attached it with a resistor to a USB cord and poked that through the hole in that piece of foam. And then I'll take the other one with the brick pattern on it, and there's also a brass tube going through that hole right there that you see. And I'll take the brick pattern foam and I'll take a little awl here and line it up a little bit just so it's lined up better. And then I will fix the Leering Stone to that wall in the back of the oven, and then I'll have a switch that I can use to turn the light on, which I'm turning my lights off so you can see better, and then it'll make the eyes glow. So it will have that little feature once I get it all built and put in. And like I say, that face will be painted black to, like it says in the description at the beginning, but you'll be able to see those eyes glowing through the black face, so it'll be nice to see. So anyway, that is how I made the Leering Stone for the ovens, and I hope that you found this entertaining and somewhat enjoyable to watch, and somewhat instructive too. So anyway, that's it for this episode, and I'll be doing some more with the walls and more with the building in the next video. So anyway, leave your comments below. I read all of them, And of course, have a better day, as I always say.